Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to discuss two popular time loop movies and what they say about our psychology. Well, this past week I watched two time loop movies where the main character is stuck in a loop that seems to go on forever. The first one being, the more recent Palm Springs, starring Andy Samberg, whose face is perpetually hilarious. And the other one, Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray, whose face is equally as hilarious. And I think these two movies really, they say a lot about our psychology and really what we need to do to get out of neurosis, an existential crisis. That's what these characters are going through in both Palm Springs and Groundhog Day. How do we suffer existence? How do we deal with existence, this thing that we did not ask for? I think it's symbolized very well in the time loop, and I think there's great psychological takeaways from this. The first one is that neurosis is being caught in a loop. That's exactly what neurosis is. If you do therapy with me, you will find you're going through the same loop over and over again. Feels different perhaps in different situations, but the fundamental emotional loop, I would argue, is exactly the same. The typical question that therapists get asked is, what are some crazy stories from past clients? Like, these stories aren't crazy. Neurosis is not crazy. People who live the most interesting lives, they don't have neurosis. They're healthy. They're out in the world doing things. People who are stuck in neurosis, are stuck in neurosis. They're caught doing the same thing over and over again. So I think, these time loop movies, like, why does Bill Murray keep waking up on Groundhog Day? It doesn't make any sense on one level, and even Palm Springs is perhaps even more ridiculous. You go in a cave and you come out in the same day. I don't want to give too much away. I don't think it really matters in these movies. Like I said last week, I don't really believe in spoilers. These are both more than adequate movies. I think Groundhog Day being a little bit better, I'll get to the reason why. So I don't think there's anything really to spoil, but it's so ludicrous, yet at the same time these movies both make a lot of sense to us, because we all know the feeling of being stuck in a loop, not going anywhere. That's what neurosis is. Second takeaway is the beginning of finding meaning as you're suffering existence. The myth of Sisyphus, right? As denoted by Camus, an existentialist philosopher. We'll get to it. Just doing the same thing over and over again. The way to begin to find meaning in this, as depicted in both Palm Springs and Groundhog Day, is you really see how you can hurt other people. Or maybe not hurt other people, but at least have an effect on other people. Bill Murray's character, Phil, in Groundhog Day, he wasn't hurting Rita, the love interest in Groundhog Day. He wasn't hurting her so much, but he found out he was just, by doing the same things over and over again, even though she wasn't remembering, he found himself annoying her, and that was the beginning of his morality. Same thing in Palm Springs, which they talk about specifically. You can hurt somebody, and that's not morality. That's not the end of morality. A lot of current philosophers will say that empathy, compassion, sympathy is, in a sense, the end of morality. That's not the end, but that is the beginning. That is the beginning of, as silly as this life seems, I can really hurt somebody. Well, I don't want to do that. That's a good springboard into future ethical discussions, ethical discoveries. So I think that was portrayed very well in both these movies. The beginning, not the end, but the beginning of the way out of the loop is realizing, wait a minute, I may seem to be stuck in this loop, and I'm reading Camus and Kierkegaard, and we'll get to it, and these ideas are really resonating, yet I can still hurt people. That doesn't seem right. That introduces this dissonance. How do I reconcile this? Beginning of morality, I would say. I think one good point that Palm Springs had over Groundhog Day is, in Palm Springs there are multiple people stuck in the time loop. So there's discussion by different people in the same loop, and I think it was portrayed really well by Niles, Andy Samberg's character, is that he actually didn't want to leave the loop. Sarah did. Sarah wanted to get out for reasons I'm not going to spoil. She had more of an imperative to get out of the loop. Niles just wanted to hang out, and I think that's also very indicative of neurosis, as we stuck in our loop, and it's not working out for us, but it's familiar, we're used to it, it's comfortable in a sense, and we just want to stay in it. we don't want to do anything too different because we're just so gratified by staying stuck in the loop. Now, often this is victimhood, self-pity, like I talk about, having the back of your hand firmly planted to your forehead. Woe is me. On the one hand, we go, why would anybody want to be stuck in that loop, be stuck in that payoff, as we call it here at Animus? But when you think about it, it's kind of a great excuse for not really engaging with the world, for kind of being disconnected from reality. So I thought that psychological truth about humanity, Niles, like, he knows he's not going anywhere, but he doesn't want to leave. I think that's really well portrayed in Palm Springs. Another psychological takeaway portrayed very well in both Palm Springs and Groundhog Day is that connection is the way out. Specifically, Niles and Sarah's connection with each other, and the way that Bill Murray's character Phil was connecting with the town of Punxsutawney. Actively being engaged in other people's life. Now, people who don't really know much about ethics would confuse this as selflessness. It's not selflessness. It's just actively being engaged and connecting, being more a part of the community, which I thought was portrayed well in Groundhog Day. He's actually becoming part of this town. The town of Punxsutawney became a character in itself in the film. And and the final takeaway is that both Phil in Groundhog Day and Sarah in Palm Springs, they, in a sense, that they put themselves first. They put themselves first in their own lives to get out of the loop. They learn things. And I think what's portrayed a little bit more psychologically true in Groundhog Day is Bill Murray's doing it for no real reason other than it's better than suffering existence. Giving yourself a purpose. He starts reading poetry. He starts taking piano lessons. He learns something else. Now I forget. Maybe he learns how to paint. Oh yeah, he learns how to do ice sculptures. And he's not doing it to get out of the loop. He doesn't think it's going to get out of the loop. That's why I think it's a little bit more psychologically true in Groundhog Day, whereas Sarah's doing it, she's learning quantum physics for the purpose of getting out of the loop. So I think a little bit more psychologically true in Groundhog Day. It's just like, whatever, I'm just going to take piano lessons because it's better than sitting here doing nothing. If I'm going to have to suffer existence, I'm going to at least do something. But what both of these characters do, of course, is use the knowledge that they gain, use that to create better connections and ultimately get out of the loop. But I think that the main takeaway here is awareness is the way out of these loops, and that's what both the main characters in Palm Springs and Phil learns. Connection, but really connection that comes from awareness. And I think it's worth noting here, this is what I was teasing previously, is prominent existential philosophers. I have here Kierkegaard, Camus, Heidegger, Nietzsche to some extent. I don't really think he's an existential philosopher as we typically define that term, but at least he was for part of his writing career. I mean, what's the similar about all these philosophers? Well, read about their lives. They're mostly disconnected people. Not a lot of people in their lives, not a lot of close personal relationships. The close personal relationships they do have, maybe less than satisfactory. So it makes sense that they would come up with the ideas of existentialism, how we just have to suffer existence because they don't have anybody. And it's not just about having people, it's about they don't have awareness because they don't have connections. I'm sorry, that's no fun, but that's just the way humans are. If we don't have connections, we don't have awareness. That's why we have the brains the size that they are, and that is the ultimate way out. And I'll leave it there. I mean, this is what we talk about in Animus, right? I mean, if you have any difficulty making connection with people in your regular life, what you can do is go to therapy, learn how to talk through emotions, learn the basis of connection. However it's portrayed in movies. It's portrayed in movies in a bunch of fun ways, whether it's piano lessons, learning ice sculpture. These are all symbolic representations of connection. But if you really want to learn how connection works, you got to learn how emotions work, and really you have to learn how to talk through them in a way that builds commonality between you and somebody else, and does it in a very strong, positive, and I would even argue masculine way. So find out more. We do free consultations, animusempire.com/schedule, and I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. subscribe, tell one friend, and always remember that when you find yourself stuck in the loop, the way out is awareness, which can even come from watching a movie.